Hello, encouragers. I'm Rebecca Scott, wife, mother of 4, author, and owner and designer of Rebecca Scott Designs. I'm here to encourage you, to make you feel that I can do this spirit each and every day of our awesome journeys to fulfill our many important roles. I believe we are fully equipped to execute, and I will provide as much knowledge, practices, and systems as I can to help you understand just what I know you can do. Execute. We got this. Hello, encouragers. On today's podcast, I've got a fun subject for you and your family to do together that we will definitely hug about later, only because it's such a simple approach to recognize traditions in your family and to kind of solidify them and make them fun for your kids to anticipate creating them together. And what is it? It's called a seasonal bucket list. It's brilliant for families in establishing the different rhythms of the different seasons. And it's definitely something you and your kids will remember. And you don't have to do everything I have on the list, but even if you do 2 of the things, even just 2 of the things, your kiddos will thank you and remember it for years to come. So the reason that I came to this seasonal bucket list idea was we got a book that's not by Dr. Seuss, but kind of similar in the illustrations and the wording. It's very rhythmic when you read it. And it was called Summer. And whenever I would read this book, even if I would read it in the winter, because you know how when your child loves a book, and even if it's about Christmas, you're still reading it in the spring and the summer. Same thing. The kids love this book named Summer. And I think it's because they liked how rhythmic it was. And I lit up when I read this book. And it's basically a bucket list for summer activities. It's these 2 little kids, a boy and a girl, that say they ride in a hot car, they eat ice cream with their dog, they go biking down the hill, they go on a hayride, they camp outdoors, they picnic, they spit out watermelon seeds, they wash the car, they watch the stars, all these summer activities. And as I read it, I kept thinking, why is there not a winter book and an autumn book and a spring book? And then I thought, well, why couldn't we create sort of this same concept in our lives? And what I found myself doing is, because my summers are so stacked, because we call it show season for my business, Rebecca Scott Designs, where I sew the purses and accessories. So I travel to art shows, set up a booth. And sometimes it's every weekend, depending on the month. And then there'll be like a spare weekend in there. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, are the summers going too fast? And all the kids will remember is mommy going to shows. And is that all that I will remember? And so I use this book as kind of my bucket list for the summer. Is like, did we spit out watermelon seeds? Check. Did we go camping? Check. Did we watch the stars? Check. Did we go swimming enough? Maybe not enough, but at least we did. So it just served as this kind of gentle checklist for me to go, yeah, you know what? I did summer, and stop putting this guilt trip on myself, but celebrate the things that we did get to do in the summer. So I'm going to make this really fun for you, but you are going to create seasonal bucket list with your family so that each season has something different that marks it as its own unique season, that in years to come, your children will tell their children, oh my goodness, every fall, my mom would XYZ, or my mom and dad every single winter would ... Isn't that awesome? It's just fun to think in our head. And of course, as a mother, I romanticize it because I did it with my own childhood. Like, I would say we played board games every single Sunday night. And I remember that was pretty much a rule. And my dad actually doesn't like board games, but he would do it because the rest of us did. And my mom said, honey, I think we did that for maybe 4 or 5 years. But I thought it was every single year of growing up because, of course, we romanticized the memory, and it was just so much fun. And there were so many different senses used during the game time, meaning sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste, all those things, that it was memorable. And so I remember in the fall, we would go and walk the railroad close to the Petersons, a family that we grew up with that were basically family to us because we didn't have any family where we grew up. So these guys were our neighbors 2 miles from us, and we did loads of activities with them. But every fall, my dad liked to walk near the railroad and look at the wild turkeys, and we would go on this walk. And that's it. Nothing more glamorous. It was just a walk, and we would look at nature and crunch on the leaves. Very awesome memories for us. And in the spring, we would go branding. And that kind of marked spring and branding is, if you're not familiar with that, it means you gather up all your cows, you get a branding stick, and you put it on their back end so that you can claim them as your own. And then you also treat them and castrate them. I can't even tell you how much fun it is. It's like the best invention ever for Western living. So all of those things for me as a child marked, okay, fall is complete, we did our walk, or spring is complete, we went branding. So that's what I wanted you to be able to offer your kids, because in our fast-paced life, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the end of winter and we never did go to an indoor water park. Or it's the end of summer and we never did go camping. So this will kind of serve as a meeting at the beginning of the season for you to sit down with your kids and your calendar and say, hey, what do you guys have some ideas for this season and what can we do together? So by all means, go off of this list, but also make your own list. I'm sure you guys have got great ideas, and believe me, I know your kiddos do, especially when they know that they have your captured attention in a meeting. They're like, ooh, I got to contribute. This seems like fun. What is a meeting? Let me in. They'll come up with their own ideas. And so let's get started. What will you do outside? And don't worry, this will be available in our show notes as just a little task list for you to start the meeting off with the things you will do as I list them here. Okay. So I want you to write down, what will you do outside? We need to get outside in every season, believe it or not. Even though we're Midwesterners and sometimes get 90 inches of snow, it's still important to get outside and enjoy it. So I want you to list some of the activities you will be doing outside during the season, because it will remind you that you did in fact do winter well. So maybe it's snowshoeing, sledding, jumping in the leaves, swimming at the lake, or picking flowers, or planting a garden, riding bike. I talked about the railroad walk. Maybe it's horseback riding. Maybe it's branding, fires, playing Ghost in the Darkness. Maybe it's kickball, games, yard games. You name it. What kind of activities will you do outside in that season? Then what will you do inside? Because there's inevitably things that we like to do inside during different seasons. So for example, maybe you're going to do board games, you're going to do Nerf fights, you're going to do some plays, which is really fun when you have lots of girls and boys. Baking, maybe you're going to do some cooking together inside. These are inside activities that you will do during the season. Crafts, scrapbooking, movies, books, maybe it's exercising. We love to do dance tapes. That's kind of a good time. What is it that you're going to do inside during the season? Then I want you to write down, what food do you want to plan on or try or make? So have you ever made marshmallows? That's a trip. You can make marshmallows. What other kind of foods? Bars, cookies, maybe it's chili, maybe it's watermelon, or it's grilled food, or it's a kid's supper where they determine everything. Or you're trying out some new breads, or you're going to freeze vegetables together, or can fruit or vegetables together. What kind of food do you want to plan, try, or make in this season? Then what kind of drink do you want to plan, try, or make in this season? It could be hot cocoa, or it could be lemonade. It could be apple cider, or it could be smoothies. What kind of drinks do you want to try during this season? So now this is where it gets a little bit fun and a little bit more involved, is you're going to plan a family supper or a gathering. And you need to decide how many times and who will be a part of this family supper or this gathering. For us, we average this family supper or the gathering for about 2 to 3 times this season. Now, hopefully you're having supper every week with your family. It's really important to sit around the dining room table, make eye contact, and connect on a heart level with your family. But this is something a little bit more kicked up a notch. So you're going to make it a little bit more special by maybe having candlelight or the music playing or something that's different than just the regular family meal. This is a family supper or gathering. So for example, you might have pizza night or taco night in the dark. That is a really good time with only candles. It's super fun for little kids. Or you can do table food where you don't have any utensils and you have to try and eat the food from the table. Just lay down, the dollar store tablecloths. That can be really fun. Try doing it with spaghetti. You will have a lot of good giggles and very, very memorable. Or maybe you want to have your family supper on a picnic table or in a camper or under the big evergreen. It's usually about 2 to 3 times. If you can get up to 5 times a month or season, go you. And then what family do you want to invite? And I do recommend this part of it is family. So maybe you need to have over your cousins or your sister or your brother or the grandparents. Keep this as family oriented as possible. Who in your family, or maybe it's an uncle or an aunt, or someone who seems like family, who can come to your family gathering. You are going to have to determine some dates in here, which makes it the beautiful thing, because as you're having this meeting, you have your calendar with you, so you can plan it and make this happen. The next thing I want you to plan on your seasonal bucket list is your friends supper or gathering. Same thing. Determine how many times can you have this friends supper and who are you going to invite. So for example, for this, you could do like a chili feed or a grill out or a watermelon seed contest or a London broil or like a popcorn feed or a snack feed or a potluck. But this is for friends, supper, and gathering during the season. And it might change, for the winter, you might be inside playing board games and having a chili feed, or you might be outside swimming and having a grill out. And plan then, of course, who are the friends going to be? Are they friends from your childhood? Are they classmates? Are they school friends? Are they church friends? Are they neighbors? Mix it up a little bit, because it's really important for our kids to have all kinds of situations with all kinds of different kids to learn a little bit more about themselves and how they are. And especially for us as parents, we need to reach out to classmates and to their school friends and to church friends. The other thing I want you to do on your seasonal bucket list is have a tourist trip. Now, I'm the one that's probably the worst at this because I'm such a homebody. Like, I love where we live, walking on the gravel, watching the sunset. That's my idea of an awesome time. And thankfully, blissfully, the kids think so as well. But every once in a while, you need to get out of the four walls, is what I call it. So do a tourist trip. Go to your local honeybee farm, go to a rodeo, go to the indoor pool in town, whatever the tourist attraction is near your area, go to it. Or maybe it's not even near your area and you're going to make a trip out of this, but have some kind of tourist trip planned for that season. Maybe it's the zoo or a water park or an indoor water park or the movie theater or the apple orchard. It will come to you as you think of the season, what touristy thing you want to do. And I'm sure your kids will have loads of ideas of what they would like to do as well. Then you need to plan a volunteer opportunity. I know, this is the one that is like, we might skip that one, but really, how much education and experience happens in a volunteer moment for your kids with you present? Okay, so what if it's just raking leaves or shoveling snow or mowing lawn or picking up sticks? Maybe you go to the soup kitchen. Maybe you gather supplies for the homeless. Ask your local church what the needs are, or go to a shelter and ask them what the needs are. Go to a women's shelter and say, hey, me and my kids, we would like to do a volunteer opportunity. Is there anything you have in mind? Reach out. Maybe there's some phone calls that need to be made that your 9 or 10-year-old could help you with, and help them to gain their confidence by saying, I would like to volunteer my time. How can I help you? Maybe it's a pet thing. All the seasons will be different, and every kid will have an idea of how they can volunteer their time. It is so encouraging and so amazing what they come up with. My daughter Iverson has just like it chokes me up thinking about it, but she has the most giving heart, and she's very attuned to people's feelings. And so she will say, Mom, I think we should. So here's her latest. The bus drivers here in the Midwest are trying to get to us because we've had all this flooding. So sometimes we have a delay start for school because of all the flooding. So she says, Mom, I think we should make our cookie bars for the bus barn, those bus drivers. She's like, because I think it's probably pretty frustrating for them to get around. So that is our volunteer activity for this fall, is Iverson's idea of how to volunteer our time or our effort for somebody in need. The next one is a letter to your grandparents, or maybe it's a pen pal, but I think just teaching them how to write and going the old school route rather than just an email is really fun, especially for my 6-year-old who loves stamps and stickers and coloring. So sometimes it's more than just a letter, but we write out like what's going on in our lives during that season and then share it with somebody. And here's what you do, guys. Okay, here's the real nerd in me. I print off 2 copies of it because we typically type ours. The girls write a couple of notes and then I also send that. But I type it up so that I can file it. And then later on in life, when the kids are like, man, I'd love to get some more memories written out, I can be like, oh, well, here's what we did in fall of 2016. I I know that you guys are laughing right now, but that is what I do. I write a letter to my grandmas every 2 weeks and I print it off. So I've got kind of like a family journal going over all these years. So write this crafty letter together and send it to family. It's a fun way to communicate with the next generation. And it's a memory of doing it together and then also being able to catalog it as maybe your family journal. The next one is really fun and your kids are going to love to get involved in this. This is sending a care package to a loved one. Remember when we would get those in college? You had that one really cool aunt who was like, I'm going to send you Skittles. And you're like, gosh, she so gets me. Okay, I want you to send a care package. Maybe it's to a college student or maybe it's to a military member, but you get to decide that. Maybe it's to a grandparent, or for us right now, it's to our nanny who is now a college student. What kind of things would encourage someone in your life right now in the form of a care package? Fill it up with some goodies, with a pen and paper. You guys can go nuts. And you can just go to the dollar store and do this. But it's such a fun way to care for someone outside of your family, and your kids will love packing it up. Okay, that's it. Which I know you're probably laughing and saying, that's it, that's a lot, but these are ideas. If you tackle just 2 or 3 of these, your kids will be so excited about the action of planning something together, doing it together, and then recognizing the change in seasons. Like that summer we did XYZ. And I love Fall Mom. It's my favorite one because we always do whatever. When they use the word always, it's really comforting for me as a mother that to them it seemed very repeatable and very memory filled because they use the word always. So in their little bodies and their little brains, they have decided that that was a family tradition that stuck. That's what we're all aiming for them to have beautiful memories and awesome traditions that stuck, that were healthy for them, and that helped them to grow in who they are becoming. So the important thing is you need to make them easy, but repeatable, and most of all, especially for kids, fun. Just make them fun. Everybody will have a suggestion. You can even have a little vote to see which ones are actually going to make it or who gets to decide which season in the activities. Maybe that's what you'll do as well. So this is the seasonal bucket list. You are going to write down outside activities, inside activities. What food do you want? What drink do you want? You're going to write down a family supper or gathering. You're going to write down a friend supper and gathering. You're going to have a tourist trip. You're going to have a volunteer opportunity. You're going to write a letter to a grandparent or to a pen pal. And then you're going to have a care package for a loved one. All simple things that you can do to mark the changing of the seasons and be able to say, yes, we did that year well. Remember when we always did this in the fall? These are things that will be repeatable. They need to be easy, and most of all, they need to be fun. Until next time, encouragers, we got this. Hey, encouragers, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you've had the scene where you're crying because there's no way you can meet all the roles in your life, I've been there. I've so been there, but I'm not there anymore. And I know how you can get out of that slump and start executing on all the things that God has equipped you to do. You can pick up my book at equippedtoexecute.com, also on my website at shoprSD.com, and it's also available on Amazon. Thank you for tuning in, encouragers. Remember to subscribe so it's automatically on your phone, and please rate and review me. We got this, encouragers.